Hi ladies, welcome to the third and last card making video in my Class by Mail series for February. So I hope you've enjoyed the first two so far. This one here will be the one that we're making for our last one, and it's a just a very simple card for the last one. No fancy folds on this one. But we are going to be doing some fussy cutting, so that'll be fun. But before we start on that one, I just wanted to recap the last video that I did, the second card. Your kit will contain a different color wave to the card that I made in the video. And I'm not sure if I mentioned that. I think I might have mentioned that I cut that circle out for you, but I don't, now that I think about it, I don't think I did. I think like the first card, I just gave you a piece of cardstock in the coordinating colour that you could cut to your own shape and size depending on the greeting that you wanted to use. I will actually show you the colourway that you will be getting for this second card. I'm 99% sure I gave you all the same colourway for this one. So the same pack of Designer Series paper, but just a slightly different design, as you can see. Actually, this one is my preference. So you're very privileged to get this one. And the back of that one is this gorgeous green there. And so because the back of that is that beautiful green color, the back of your card, and so this card base on the back and this piece here, I gave you two pieces of Mossy Meadow. There's actually three pieces there because you'll also need a piece for the inside there. So you've got more of that cardstock than what you need, but I just wanted to make sure I told you what your colour wave was so that you weren't mixed up with the other kits when you receive yours. So let's get started on this card. Now, I don't know if you're a fan of fussy cutting or not. I certainly am not a fussy cutting fan. I actually dislike fussy cutting, but I do think it's a great skill for all of us card makers to work on and develop. Our fussy cutting skills, I think, is a great idea. I have some friends who find fussy cutting very relaxing, and if that is you, more power to you, but it is not me. So let's get started. I'll show you. So you will be getting exactly these colours in your kit. You'll get this beautiful Designer Series paper in the background, but I ran out of that, so I'll show you what I'm going to be using today. You will also get this lovely natural twine in your kit, and today I'm going to just change it up and use white twine instead. So let's get started. So we've got I've used Old Olive for the card base on this one. And instead of, because I ran out of that green Designer Series paper, I actually just cut another piece of Old Olive cardstock and I embossed it. And I used this embossing folder. It's a new one that came out in the mini catalogue. It's a 3D embossing folder and it's called Cane Weave. So I really loved was really keen to use that embossing folder. It's the first time I've used it. I'll just show you where it is in case you're curious, because it is part of a suite of products. Not that you have to buy the whole suite, but just so you're aware. It comes as part of this Regency Park suite, and it's on page 30 and 31 in the mini catalogue. And here it is here. So often embossing folders don't really look like much in the catalogue, so it's really helpful to get a closer look at it. So that is where that is. So yeah, I'll just hold that up so you can get a closer look at it. Isn't it gorgeous? And I reckon that would look gorgeous in any colour. So first things first, I'm going to stick that on. The my original sample, I actually popped up that designer series paper, as well as the fussy cut flower wreath there. So I've got lots of dimension on my original one. But because there's lots of texture on this, I'm just going to glue that straight down. When you are gluing, here's a tip for you, when you are gluing down pieces that have been embossed in any embossing folder, it's good to add a bit more glue than you normally would, because it's an uneven surface. You want to make sure you get a really good coverage of glue there, and I have cut this piece just slightly smaller than my card base, and you'll find you'll just check your designer series paper that I gave you. I am not 100% sure whether I cut that down or not, and that is not even, so I'll just move that. See, I've still got a little bit of wiggle time there. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure if I cut it down to leave a border around your card base. So just check that before you stick it on, because I just think it looks nicer with a border around it. But again, personal preference. All right, so let's get started with our fussy cutting. So if you are not used to fussy cutting, or you don't like it, I've got a few tips for you. Firstly, your scissors, make sure you have a really sharp, small pair of scissors is better, and ones that have got a really fine pointy end. Okay, these paper snips are fabulous from Stampin' Up! For fussy cutting. And the other tip I want to give you is when you're going around your image, instead of moving your scissors to go around, swivel your paper. If you don't already know that, you'll get a much smoother corner if you do that. And look, you don't have to go in as close as I'm going if you don't want to. It's entirely up to you. I'll just zoom that in a little bit more so you can, but it's good to leave a bit of a border around, a bit of a edge around your image. You don't want to go right up to the edges of what you're cutting. And if you feel more comfortable leaving a bigger border, then that's, again, entirely up to you. And it doesn't have to be perfect, okay? And I find that if I've got to, right, okay, I'm going to snip that scrap piece off, because you'll find as you go around that your scissors start to get caught up in the bits, these scrap bits. So just snip them off and keep going. And I also find that when I need to sort of reposition my scissors, like, you know, I need more room, it's better to do that when you're not on a bend. So I don't know if I explained that properly, but when you're going around the corners, try and make sure it's at a point where you don't have to lift your scissors off and reposition them. Okay, because you'll find that you'll get a more jagged edge if you do that. So I'd be oops, I went a bit too far there. I'd be really interested to know of the three of you who are doing this class, who, if any of you like fussy cutting, who does and doesn't like it, because we're all different. And as I say, I've got friends who love it and friends who are like me who do not like it. If Stampin' Up! Bring out a stamp set that when they bring out stamp sets with matching dies, believe me, if I want that stamp set, I am getting the dies just so that I can avoid fussy cutting things. But sometimes it's not avoidable, or sometimes you just, really want to cut something out that doesn't have a die. I'll show you. I won't make you watch all of me fussy cutting this out because I do have one that I prepared earlier. But I'll show you what I mean by being in the middle of a turn and then repositioning my scissors. Now, you might not be able to see that clearly, but I've got a not as smoother corner there as I would have if I'd have gone, see, and I went a bit wide there. So it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, that's all I will make you watch me doing that. I'll get the one that I've already finished. And you will find that your piece is, a bit bent and a bit misshapen just from holding it and turning it. So I just get my bone folder and just really gently, because some of those leaves are a bit fine, just smooth it out a bit. I don't particularly want it curled under, but some of the bits were sort of poking up the other way, and even that centre bit looks like it's got a bit of a bend in it. So I'm much happier with that. So I'll zoom that out again a bit. And before I stick that down, I want to stamp my greeting straight on this. So if you don't feel confident in stamping straight on the piece, if you're worried you're going to make a mistake, then please feel free to stamp on a scrap. Either cut it out with a punch or a die. You could even have a greeting going right across there if you want to. It's entirely up to you. I managed to not make a mistake on this one when I stamped it. So I'm going to go for it again and see how I go. And what's the worst thing that can happen? If I make a mistake, then I'll stamp another greeting and stick it over the top. So it's not a big deal. I'm going to stamp this in Mossy Meadow. So this is the lighter green, the old olive. And I'm just going to stamp it in the Mossy Meadow, which is darker. Just for that little bit of contrast. And I do like greetings to be on the dark side so that they stand out. And I'm just using my scrap paper to make sure that when I stamp this, I'm stamping it on some grid paper to make sure that the sticker is straight on the stamp. So grid paper is fantastic for that, so that you can test your stamps. And don't rock or wiggle your stamps when you stamp them, just straight down. Give it a few seconds to soak into the paper and straight up again. And I'm happy with that. But believe me, I have muffed many a greeting when I've stamped it and had to either stamp it on a separate piece and stick it over the top, or if this was just a piece of cardstock, you know, you can flip it over. So it's just paper, it's no big deal. So I'm going to pop that up on Dimensionals, and guess what I forgot to do? I actually glued that twine underneath. So I should have done that to that piece of embossed cardstock before I stuck it down. But you know what? So instead of that, what will I do? I don't know that I really want to wrap it around this, but maybe. I'm tossing up between around there and tying a bow, or just tying a bow and sticking it down there. I think I might do that. I think I might just tie a bow. But if you wanted to, if you did what I did, you could wrap that around there. You've got some grooves in your flowers there. You could do that. You'll notice that the piece of twine that I gave you in your kit is just one long piece of twine. But what I did was, instead of, I've wrapped it around 3 times here, but instead of wrapping it around 3 times and then tying a bow, I'll just show you on this piece. I only left a tail about that long, wrapped it 3 times, and then only another short tail, and I stuck my tails down on the back. Okay, so I just got some double-sided tape and stuck those down, and then when I cut this piece off, it was enough to slip under there and just tie a bow. I find that easier rather than trying to keep the twine taut while you're tying a bow. Sometimes is a bit of a pain. So you will have enough of the twine that I gave you to do that. Again, it's entirely up to you. But I'm thinking I might just tie a little bow. And I thought the white twine might be nice for a change. So let's tie the bow and see what we think. Okay. Good thing about using twine is that your bows don't have to be perfect. Like we feel like our ribbon bows need to be perfect, but twine is very imperfect when you're fiddling with it. So yeah, I'm thinking I might just use the bow on its own. So I will stick this piece down then with Dimensionals. I want to make sure it doesn't collapse, so I'm going to be pretty generous because it's not cardstock, it's Designer Series paper, so it's a bit thinner, even though the Stampin' Up's Designer Series paper is a really nice thickness. It's still not quite as thick as cardstock, so it's good to make sure that it's well supported underneath. Okay, I think I got all of those. There we go. just move this to the side so I can put my head in without you guys getting it in my head in your face. And I think about there. There we go. And I'm just going to stick that bow on with a glue dot. You could use a bit of the liquid glue if you wanted to on the back of your bow, but either will work. Let's see, where will I go? I'm thinking about there. Oh, this side, what do you reckon? A lot of my time when I'm card making is taken up with just deciding where my embellishments are going to go. I don't think I really want it. Oh, it might look nice up there. And it would also look nice down there. Oh, goodness me, just make a decision, woman. Yeah, I'll go there. Okay. All right, I'll use liquid glue this time. Normally I use glue dots on my bows, but just so that I can show you, just put a little dot. You don't need much because it's going to squish out. Make sure that you've got your bow the size you want. And just sit that on. And just don't wiggle it around once if you've used your liquid glue, just let that make sure you let that sit for a few minutes. So I'm not going to cut the tails off yet because I don't want to disturb that while it's drying. And this kit is the one that I included your bling with, that will be enough for your other cards as well if you want to use it. Now on my sample card I used these adhesive backed milky dots, and I used the yellow ones, and they're the ones that I gave you, because I thought they looked really nice with that floral piece. So I might use those again. So you get 3 different colours in those dots, which is nice. But I might just have a look and see what else I've got in case there's something different. Let's have a look. Yeah, I could use even those orange ones would look quite nice, I think, even though that's not one of the colours. It kind of goes with the yellow and even a little bit with the pink. These are called iridescent pastel gems. Let me have a look. Just going to sit it up, and because they're iridescent, they kind of pick up the colours that you're using them with. So I might, just for a change, use these ones. Okay, I'm not going to use any of the big ones though. I think I'll just use the smaller ones. And we might go one down here. I might put one down near that bow. And I always use an uneven number of embellishments because apparently that's one of the rules of design, whether it's interior design or art or anything like that, that an uneven number is much more aesthetically pleasing than an even number. So that's why I've used 3. So I'll either use 1, 3 or 5, depending on the card. And I like to put, when I'm using 3, I like to put 2 closer together and 1 further away. I just find that more aesthetically pleasing as well. So that is the front of our card done, and that bow's pretty well glued on there. So I'll trim off my tails. I do like longer tails on my bows, so I'm going to let them hang right down there. And now we're going to do the inside layer of our card. So I included a separate piece for you to layer the inside. Make sure you trim it. Well, you'll need to trim it down a little bit. And I've trimmed it down so that I think I took 1/2 centimetre off 2 of the sides. So that gives me about 2.5 millimetre border all the way around. But I always like to make sure that the inside of my cards are not naked. So apart from a greeting, I mean, this is in addition to a greeting. I like to either, so if I had any of this designer series paper left, I would glue a strip maybe down the bottom. But because I don't, I'm actually going to stamp. And this time I'm going to use the Old Olive because it's a bit paler. And I'm going to use that flower spray that we used on another card that's from the Queen Bee stamp set. I'm going to just put a spray on one side, and I'll just get some scrap paper in because I want that to go off the edge. It also looks a bit more aesthetically pleasing if you have images going off the edge of your cardstock. And there we go, just a little detail. And actually I'm going to be, without re-inking it, I'm just going to put another little bit in there just to finish that off. There we go, and that's it. I'm not going to put a greeting on that yet because I'm not 100% sure what I want to say. I often don't stamp a greeting in the middle until I know who I'm going to give it to and what the purpose of the card is, because this would make a really nice either a sympathy card or a get well card, or just if you know someone's going through a difficult time, just a nice little note. So for that purpose, I don't necessarily want a greeting inside. I can just write what I want to say. So now you can see I tested that stamp on the back of this piece to see where I wanted it. So there it is going across that corner, but I've decided I'm going to go with that one. And another tip for when you're using this liquid glue, particularly for lining your card, I don't recommend that you put glue in the middle where you're going to write, only because sometimes depending on the thickness that you put it on with, and I don't put it on very thick, but some people do, you will find that it leaves some sort of ridges if you've put it on too thick. So when you go to write, it's just, I don't think it looks very nice. So that's why I just keep it to the edges. There we go. And that is done. So a much simpler card than the other two for the third one. But I thought it would be nice to finish with an easy one. And if, as I say, if you didn't like fussy cutting, then I'm sorry about that. But as I said, I think it's a great skill that we all learn to do. And yeah. So that greeting I used was from a set called Quiet Meadow. Now, it's an older set that's still in the annual catalogue, the big one. It's in here, and it does have some matching dies. It's this set here, but it's no longer sold as a bundle because it was carried over from a previous catalogue where it was bundled together, and they often do that. They'll release sets as a bundle, which makes it cheaper to purchase because you get 10% off when you buy the bundle. But then if they carry them over to another catalogue, they usually separate them because they have other sets that they're selling at bundles. But I just wanted to show you the dies. I didn't use them today, but it comes with a lot more dies than what is with the stamp set. In fact, the only dies that cut out the stamp set images are, there's 2 label dies in there, and it cuts out the Thinking of You. There's a smaller label that cuts out the Love, and the You're Too Kind would it's this label here that would fit those 2 greetings, and then this little Love is this little label here. But as you can see, there's lots of flower dies there, a butterfly leaf, a sprig of leaves, and little leaves. So it's quite a big die set. There is another set on the same page of the annual catalogue. It's on page 68, and it's called Nature's Harvest. So they're very similar looking sets, very nature focused, and this Nature's Harvest has a lot of dies as well, but those dies will cut out those flower images. So I just thought I'd let you know that. Can you see that there? And there is the dies on that other set. I don't have that other set. But yeah, in case you are after a sort of nature set like that, you've got those 2 to choose from. Bearing in mind this catalogue is finishing the end of April, so we don't know yet whether those sets are carrying over. And I don't think, yes, I should also tell you the twine that I used comes in a multi-pack of twine. You get lots of different colours there, as well as the white. I'm just going to look up what the colours are that you get. I use this stuff all the time. Okay, so you get 5 different colours. Crumb cake, which would be that one. You get crumb cake, white, black, obviously. There's a colour called grey granite, which is just one of the ink colours. Oh, I've nearly run out of that, so I can't even show you what that looks like. Grey granite, and the very vanilla. So that's what you get in that pack. And I think that is all I wanted to tell you. So don't forget the end of February celebration. So we've only got a few more days until celebration ends. So if you wanted to you've already paid me $25 for the $25 for the class. Thank you very much. But if you wanted to, if you ended up placing an order before the end of Feb, no later than the end of February, and it's $90 or more, then I will discount the class to being only $5. So I will either refund you the $20 or just take it off the amount that you owe me for the order. So make sure you tell me if you're going to put an order in so that I can work that out for you. Okay, well, thanks again, ladies. I loved making all of these cards. I love quick and easy cards, but I love the fun folds too. So I hope you enjoyed them as much as I do. And let me know if there's anything I can help you with. And I look forward to, if you want to do next month's class, I'll send out all the information to you. And as I said, I'll also send you a link to the instructions to go with the video. So take care and have fun, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.